Hi there, this is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist from the Teaching of Talking. And today's episode of our video is going to be about speech therapy and aphasia. And it's going to be a very interesting subject. It's called time distortion. And you might want to know what time distortion is. Well, time distortion is when you're doing something and you're engaged in something and the time just flies by. I remember when I was first dating my first girlfriend, or, was in a special relationship, and you're with that person and you take her out for a date, and my goodness, the time just flies by. And then there's so many examples of that. Reading a book and really getting into the book and then realizing that it's been hours that you've been engaging in that project. Or if going on a trip somewhere and it seemed like you got there real fast, but on the way back home, it seemed like the time was just crawling. So that's called time distortion, and time distortion occurs when time just flies by. So you're saying, well, Mark, why are you talking about time distortion in speech therapy? Well, I'll tell you why. Because one of the things about speech therapy, the way that we do it, and the way that we get such excellent results, is because we engage people who have aphasia in conversation. And when you engage somebody in conversation, especially about something that interests them or about something that deals with them, deals with their interests, deals with who they are, what they value, when you deal with a person's interests and values, they're completely engaged and focused in the conversation. Now, the trick is, in speech therapy, the trick is to figure out how many words you can stimulate them to talk in. Now, in some people, you might have just one word, and you can have a one-word conversation. In fact, some of you may have had fathers or dads who didn't talk very much and maybe only spoke in one or two words at a time. But you could have a conversation with one word. You could have a conversation with 3 words. And what we teach you how to do is to figure out the maximum and the optimal number of words to stimulate in conversation. Now, when you do that, they're engaged. And you can talk about anything. You can talk about travels. You can talk about people who've got interests in stereos or interests in the San Francisco Giants. Because, I work with a number of people who have these interests. Or people who are foodies and they want to talk about food. Or people who like beer and they want to talk about beer. And, when you find a subject that a person likes to talk about, they can be completely engaged for hours even, because it's something that they're interested in. And when you have interest and when you have engagement in a conversation, you have focus, you have attention, you have listening, because they listen better. They listen better because it's about stuff that's meaningful for them. Now, I had a conversation about time distortion with a patient that I saw this morning. And they said, well, you know something? He said, we used to, when we went to therapy before, therapists used to bring out a bucket. And in the bucket would be a hairbrush, and would be a mirror, and might be a razor, and might be a hammer, might be a piece of paper or a pen. that's not really speech therapy. You could call it that, but that's naming. And naming is an old, outmoded technique that therapists think that people are going to talk better because they're naming something. But people with aphasia have trouble naming, and they have difficulty with that, and quite often it's very frustrating. But when you talk about something that they're interested in, they aren't in the naming mode. They are in the thinking about fun things, thinking about what interests them mode, and typically speech comes out much better and much faster. So to complete this, we were talking about the bucket with the stuff in it, and I said to them when I first started out doing therapy, and really didn't know quite what to do with people with aphasia. This was like over 40 years ago, mind you. I used to do therapy, and every 5 minutes I'd glance down at my watch, or I'd look up on the wall and think about how much longer do I have to sit here and do this? Because I knew that it didn't work. I knew that it really didn't work for me. That's not how I wanted to do therapy. And I figured, gosh, if I have to do therapy this way, I don't want to do it. So with time, you learn how to stimulate conversation, and conversation makes speech come out so much easier. And not only does it come out easier, but the time just flies by. Everybody has a good time, and everybody looks forward to therapy sessions. So that's a little bit about aphasia therapy and time distortion. Good aphasia therapy, you have time distortion. Therapy that may not really be getting the result for you, or if you're a caregiver and you're sitting in on the visits, and if there isn't time distortion, you might be in the wrong place. Okay, so that's the message for today. Down beneath this video is a description of the video, and there's also a link to our new website, theteachingoftalking.com. And we have a ton of videos in there. We've got blogs in there. And we've got just a whole lot of stuff for you if you want to learn about aphasia and aphasia therapy. And it's all free. You can access it. And then we have the YouTube page, Teaching of Talking. And then we have the Facebook pages, Moshe Mark Idelman and Teaching of Talking. So we hope that you'll join us and learn more about aphasia, because I make a lot of videos about aphasia to help you understand a lot of principles about aphasia. And when you understand about aphasia, you'll be able to know if you're in the right place, getting the right care, and or you'll know what type of care you might want to consider also in addition to what you're doing. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist. Don't forget to click on the Teaching of Talking link below. And then when you get to the website, make sure that you're on our mailing list. Put your name and email address there so we can send you free stuff. And down at the bottom of each page of the website is a link that says questionnaire and survey. If you'd like to speak to me about personal mentoring or learning the teaching of talking, where I personally help you and walk you through it, then click on that, and it'll send you a little survey to fill out some questions, and I'll look it over, and I'll let you know if I think you're a good candidate or what I would recommend for you. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist. Hey, have a great day. Bye-bye now.